2:04. We'll go ahead and get started. So aloha mai kako. Welcome for joining us today. My name is Lisa Ka'anoi, and I work with the Native Hawaiian Health Scholarship Program at Papa'ola Lokahi. And looks like we have about 25 people joining us online. So ikomomai, let's get started. Well, if this is your first time, we'll go ahead and go over housekeeping first. Oops. Turn that off. Okay. There we go. So for those that have joined us for the first time or are new to our webinars, this will be recorded, and for future reference, if you'd like to see one of our webinars in the future, all you have to do is register to receive the recording. We know that patients or folks might be seeing patients in clinic or are working, and that's okay. And then as far as questions or comments or feedback, you can use both the Q&A feature, which is located at the bottom of your screen in the Zoom toolbar. And also you can send us messages in chat or questions in chat. Also, if this is your first time, you will actually be automatically added to our email group to receive notifications of future webinars. We have webinars on the 2nd and 4th Friday of every month. And then at the end, when we're done, there's going to be a pop-up that automatically shows as soon as this webinar is over or when you leave, if there's an evaluation that you could give us or your mana'o. And if you could, that would be great, because that's how we decide what webinars are coming up next by your feedback. And so I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speakers today. So just to let you know, these are two very special speakers, friends of mine. If you are wondering of the connection, Dee-Ann, Carpenter, Kelli-Ann, Frank Voloch, and Momi Ka'anoi, my sister-in-law, they all went to med school together. So we're kind of like, we're all coming full circle. And so I get to put them in the hot seat today. So welcome. And we'll start out with Dee-Ann. Dee-Ann Lealoha Carpenter is a mother of two, is a Native Hawaiian board certified internal medicine physician and assistant professor in the Department of Native Hawaiian Health and the Office of Medical Education at JABSOM, John A. Burns School of Medicine in Honolulu, Hawaii. She received her BA from the University of Hawaii at Manoa, completed the ʻiwi ho'ola program, and obtained her medical doctorate degree from JABSOM, finishing residency in internal medicine at UH. She's also the 2018 recipient of the prestigious UH Board of Regents Medal for excellence in teaching. She uses knowledge gained from fellowships in faculty development and medical education at JABSOM to teach cultural competency and clinical medicine to medical students and residents. She is passionate about mentoring students interested in the field of medicine. Dr. Carpenter is honored to have been part of the MOVE project, otherwise known as Medical Officers Voyaging Education, involved in statewide screening of crew for Malama Honua voyage, and was a medical officer on board Hikianali'a, the sister canoe for Hokulea during the second half of leg 2 from Rarotonga to Pago Pago, American Samoa. Now, Kelli-Ann Noilani Frank Wallach is a Native Hawaiian physician who received her medical degree from JABSOM at the University of Hawaii. She's a pediatrician at the Waianae Coast Comprehensive Health Center since 2000 and an assistant professor in the Department of Native Hawaiian Health at JABSOM since 2005. She's a proud graduate of the ʻiwi ho'ola program and completed a fellowship with the Office of Medical Education and with Native Hawaiian Center of Excellence. She focuses on the delivery of compassionate care, humanism in medicine, mentoring, professionalism, and cultural sensitivity related curricula. So I will now turn it over to Kelli-Ann.
Ho'omala malama o ka'akau kukui.
Unihi o kona uanui.
O ku kalahale ahe mai nei.
Ua mai lau ke ki o wao.
Kai ka pa'a kai o hali ai.
Hali aloha o ka ehu kai.
Maha maha ke kanaka I ka mauli ai.
Ho'opili, ho'omana, ho'omau ka lahu ie, ie, ie. Aloha, we wanted to welcome you to this webinar, and our oli that we just did was gifted to us by Kumumehana Hind to our Department of Native Hawaiian Health, and it actually talks about our sense of place where John A. Burns School of Medicine is located in the area of Ka'akau Kukui that you might actually call Kaka'ako. But that whole area and all of its wonderful mana'o that was shared with from our department people helped Mehana to put that together. So that's who we are and where we are both coming from.
Mahalo, Lisa, for doing our slide set. We'll go ahead and begin with the first slide. I'm not sure if that's up for all to view at the present time. And we really want to mahalo all of you for being with us and sharing your time today. It's a true honor for us to share our stories and our photos with all of you in the audience. And we can advance to the next slide. Happy to share that both Dr. Carpenter and I are both recipients through the Native Hawaiian Health Scholarship Program, and we are truly, truly thankful for this cycle back and opportunity to share, like I said, the stories you'll hear, the photos you'll see. So mahalo to Native Hawaiian Health Scholarship Program, Papa Ololokahi. We'll go to the next slide with our agenda and sharing with all of you what we're going to take you through, giving you some ground rules or introductions of who we are, both Dr. Carpenter and myself. What kinds of mentoring is there and types of mentors? What do you look for in a mentor? Also, what are the roles, both for a mentor and a mentee? As you know, many of us play both roles at multiple times and opportunities. Topics to talk about with your mentee, or as a mentor, how do you approach with the mentee? Also, how do you engage with your mentor? And some of our personal experiences if we have some time at the end. So that is what we'll take you through. And Dr. Carpenter.
So, we just wanted to give you that little caveat of where we're actually coming from. So our perspective, introducing ourselves, our ho'olana, is basically that we are Native Hawaiian wahine. That I put the plus next to Native Hawaiian because you can probably tell that I'm not all Native Hawaiian, but also have Chinese and Caucasian background, and Kelli-Ann the same.
Correct, with Irish and a little
Yes.
Chinese.
Yep. Have a little English, and mahalo to the grandfathers. Anyway, so so that perspective that we'll be coming from as mentors and mentees is really as a Native Hawaiian woman. We're both parents, so we're Makua and Kauka, so physicians, and so that's kind of where we're coming from. So if you're here and you're interested in anything or anything to do with the health field, even though we are Kauka, we work with so many people. Yes, I forgot to mention, you're right, Kim, that I'm Portuguese as well. So actually, Lisa and Kelli-Ann probably have to cut me off at some point. And we'll be hopefully sharing a little bit of our stories. And you'll be hearing actually next about our pathway. But I wanted to just point out this picture that we've been doing a Kihei ceremony for a number of years now with our students and at the Johnny Burns School of Medicine who are Native Hawaiian. But you'll actually see someone in there who is also Samoan. So we had people, and then this was one of the kihei that we helped the students to make. So anyway, if you want to join us for some of that later on, that would be awesome. So next slide. So we're going to actually both introduce ourselves, and just to give you a little bit of background of who we are and where we're from. You certainly can ask questions anytime. So you can put it in the question and answer or chat, or you know, however you can do it. I think they don't allow you to raise your hand, so that would be the way that you want to do it. So as mentioned, my name is Dee-Ann Lealoha Carpenter. I actually hail from the southern community within Ka'u, area called Na'alehu. Actually helped my dad put up the sign, the southernmost community in the United States of America. So yeehaw to that. And if you ask any of my medical students, they're like, oh, there she goes again with her FBI flag. That means from Big Island. Hey, how's it? Okay, a name I know from the past. And so I also, growing up in Na'alehu, I was lucky enough to actually live next door to the doctor. And so I got to talk story with that plantation doctor, but mostly actually his wife. And then really growing up in Na'alehu, I love science. And so my teachers were actually my mentors. And so I really kind of relied on them to really keep me going. But I have to tell you, I think my biggest mentor growing up were really my parents. And that's in teaching me my culture in all the different cultures that I grew up in, but really local culture as well, which is just caring for each other in our community. As I moved into Hilo, I went to St. Joseph High School. I was very lucky to grow up there with wonderful small classes, very oriented towards going to college. But my counselor there at that time really didn't know how to help me at that time to say, hey, this is the school you should go to become a doctor. Although I have to tell you, one of my biggest mentors during that time was Sister Charles Marie. And I think she was probably my main mentor in helping me to really focus and become a physician. I later on, when I was a resident, she actually called me up and said, hey, Dee-Ann, this is Suzanne. And I'm thinking, Suzanne? Who's Suzanne? Because at that time, the nuns actually changed. And so they actually started using their names that they were given and not their names that they were given when they joined the church. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, actually what I really said was, oh God, Sister Charles Marie. And I went, oh, wait, this is the nun I'm talking to. Anyway, so that's how it was. But it was really wonderful. Talk about full circle, to go back. And one of the people that really mentored and helped me through high school and got me all excited about medicine and science again was really someone who also became a physician. So definitely a great mentor to me. When I went to UH Manoa, we forgot to write Manoa there. I actually was lucky enough to, so I just hopped islands and came to this one and did undergrad there. I actually got a zoology degree. And, you know, so there are different ways you can actually get whatever degree you want growing, you know, in college, as long as you have the prerequisites that you need in order to get to to medical school. I'll just say medical school. But for those of you who are from Hawaii, it would probably be easier to get into JABSOM than any other medical school, because most of our students at JABSOM are from Hawaii residents. And so I heard about this ʻiwi hoʻola program, and at that time I was debating whether I wanted to get a PhD or an MD, mainly because I really like teaching and I like to research as well. So I got into this program, and during this program, they actually make you take all the exams. So I had already taken the GRE, which is the graduate exam that you take in order to, I was thinking to teach in zoology. And so I did biology. But I also had to take the MCAT. So that was the exam to take in order to get into medical school. And in ʻiwi, we had to take it twice, right, Kelli-Ann? Oh my gosh, remember those days, yeehaw.
Oh yeah.
I have to tell you, and Kelli-Ann will probably vouch, and probably any other ʻiwi people who are out there, ʻiwi was probably the hardest year of anything that I've ever done in my entire life. And that actually really set the stage for me moving on. So of course, my big mentors during that time, Dr. Ben Young, Dr. Nanette Judd, they continue to be mentors to me today. I was lucky enough to get into the Johnny Burns School of Medicine. I had many mentors along the way. Dr. Richard Kasuya, Dr. Hardman is one that just very dear to me. And then went on, and I really love internal medicine, probably because I wanted to just follow every single thing that Richard Kasuya was doing. In fact, I'm still following him today. And really, I stayed here. So I actually got to do all of my schooling here in Hawaii. So when people ask you, where should you go to get all of your degrees, to get anything, you really can stay here and do everything, which I did. And after going into internal medicine residency, I did 3 years of residency, masochistic, so I actually did an extra year of residency because I wanted to do more outpatient work, because that's really where I wanted to go and do. And so I then was lucky enough to get a position out in Wahiawa and worked at Medical Arts Clinic. Just a fabulous group of patients. I was able to work with a fabulous group of doctors, many physicians, and I got to work with the family medicine residents. So I still got to teach and do a lot of things that I love doing. And then about 2007, well, 2003, I joined the medical school part-time. And then in 2007, I actually became full-time with the Department of Native Hawaiian Health at the Johnny Burns School of Medicine. And then just last year, I have just really been excited to be part of the Office of Medical Education. So part of all of the first 2 years of teaching within the medical school. So sort of my long story in a nutshell, a little bit about me and where I am and what I do now. Part of the Native Hawaiian Center of Excellence, and that's the hat that I'm wearing and coming to talk story with you guys today. Mahalo. Dr. Voloch.
Mahalo, Dr. Carpenter. Aloha mai. I am just so thrilled, like I mentioned, and the proud daughter of the late Alfred Kealoha Frank and Marie Kelly Frank. And we hailed from Nu'uanu to Waianae, and my mom from Boston, Massachusetts, in Melrose. And so I am just thrilled. They were definitely my mentors who helped me navigate the beginning stages of my life. And without them, I would not be here. And their spirit lives through me, my son, and all those that I am able to meet with. And so growing up in Makakilo, I was very fortunate to have a rural background and environment. And if it wasn't for my mother pushing education, I'm not sure where I'd be. And so I was very fortunate to get into Kamehameha schools from kindergarten, and then went to Leeward Community College for the first year. And I always knew I wanted to be a physician, but just didn't know quite how to get there and how to navigate, because nobody thought I was quite capable at the time while I was in high school. And so it's really interesting with the story, and we can share more about that later. But believing in myself, I actually went away for school finally when we had some financial stability for my parents, and I went to a small school on the California in Burlingame, Belmont, California, College of Notre Dame. And there I met some of the greatest mentors who helped me navigate to medical school. And the director of ʻiwi Ho'ola was one of my interviewers and mentioned the ʻiwi program, which I had no idea about. And from there, my path began to the steps to becoming a physician. Attended John A. Burns School of Medicine, and went into pediatrics because I absolutely love children and the energy that they have and bring to the practice. And I can't help myself. I obviously love teenagers, and continued into the adult, into medical students. So not only was I in practice at Waianae and received the offer to join the Department of Native Hawaiian Health 5 years into my practice. I found myself teaching in a classroom, and it's just been a wonderful journey since then. And I get to have fun, and my students hear that, not only as a faculty in the ʻiwi hoʻola program, but also in a kuʻola first-year medical student community health program and mentoring programs, a number of things, and just pulling it all together for the community. And again, what you can see is the similarities of our backgrounds, of both Dr. Carpenter and I, and the pathway that we got to where we are, and knowing that dreams do come true and you can succeed, providing how you navigate. And so we'll go to the types of mentoring actually in the
Kelli-Ann,
yes.
before we do, we actually have a poll for the people who are on, and I'm going to ask if maybe now that you've heard a little bit about who we are and where we've come from, before we move on just a bit, I'm going to ask that we put in that poll to see who you are. So if you don't mind just clicking on one of those and submitting it, that would be awesome.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
I have to say also, my parents would probably choke my neck if I didn't mention their names as well. So I am the fourth child, second daughter of Dante and Olan Carpenter. Mahalo for reminding me when I saw Ohana first. I said my parents, but never mentioned their names. Kalamai.
Oh, it's quite all right. They are here in spirit with us, and we'll be able to review this. And, you know, all of us have our beginnings with those that have created us. And it may be that some of you who are listening in may not have had your parents all your life, and maybe have been adopted, or had some foster parents or so. Either way, they had an influence on your life and have mentored you to be where you're at. And the whole important thing about today's talk and navigating mentoring is recognizing that living is about giving, and that's what we're here for, to share our knowledge, to help others succeed in this life that we have, in the short time that we have here and on this earth. So here we go. Oh my goodness, we have parents and grandparents. Let's see. No, we have mainly students, advisors. Oh, we have all of the above. Oh, how wonderful. This is great. Any comments, Dr. Carpenter?
No, this is awesome. I'm so glad. Thank you for answering the poll so that we'd know who we're talking to. So it sounds like we have a lot of mentors on here in addition to the students also. So we'll try and address some of your questions while we're talking, but if not, please go ahead and put some questions in the chat, and hopefully we can answer those later on. Mahalo.
And so that takes us to our next slide, where we really want to share more about the types of mentoring, because we obviously don't get through life with just one mentor, right? I don't think any of us made it to where we're at with just one person helping us, other than Keakua, perhaps, for those of you that believe in a higher being, but we need those that are physically here with us. And so in that navigation of career, we have our academic advisors who will definitely help us navigate what it is that we need, our advice. They can help us with the courses. They can help us succeed in getting the degree. But certainly we need those that we mentioned in the beginning, our spiritual advisors and mentors, to help us through those challenges in our career as we go through the classes, the exams, the board preps, that sort of thing. But we also need someone personal who you feel really safe to be with, and that your family, right? They are our first mentors, like I mentioned, or your friends who you surround yourself with, who can take you to the next level and really be your cheerleader and help you there, as well as the career mentors. So we have academic, we mentioned, to help you with the checklist and so forth, but the career, really that experience, that OJT, the connections that can get you to that dream that you have. So recognizing you will have multiple mentors in your life and that you should seek them out too. And we'll talk more about that. But it's also all about the relationships that we have with those people and those mentors that we surround ourselves with. And so our favorite person of mine who's actually been mentoring myself too, Dr. Halaivalu Vakalahi, she had said, you know, you need a mentor whose shoulders you can cry on. Everything's going to be okay, and kind of tell you like it is. So that personal person. And then you got to have that mentor that's going to tell you like it is, the reality check, and like, okay, I don't think so, or no, you know what? Okay, give them, go for it, you know. And thirdly, someone who will actually take your name to places you never imagined. And so those types of mentors will help you succeed in your goals in life and navigating, not just for you being that mentor or seeking, but also as a mentee too, and looking for that mentor. So Dr. Carpenter, anything else you'd like to share?
You know, I just love the way you put that. I think what happens is some people, when you go through life, you don't realize that they're your mentor until later, until afterwards, and you look back. And as I was thinking about this talk as well, same thing that I was doing, I went, wow, I started writing down a whole bunch of names. Those weren't people that I thought were my mentors during the time that I was actually with them. So when you think about this, your mentor could be anyone, and really, I know we don't have on here also, but within the personal, you talked about your family. That family is definitely extended. So whatever that means to you. So if it's your favorite uncle or auntie that actually just chided you on all the time, you can do this, you will do this. Anytime you get that positive, you know, that would be awesome. So, oh, I guess there's a thing. Yeah, you can actually click on gallery view, I believe, and you should be able to see all the speakers instead of the spotlight view. So that's a way to kind of take a look at that, just answering the chat. But anyway, so yeah, so those are different things. And I think it's important to also realize we need more than one mentor in all the different aspects of our lives, of who we are and where we are going and where we are from. So that is something definitely that you need to consider as well. And Kelli-Ann actually talked about this a little bit, but it's like, what do you look for in a mentor? So this is a picture of me as I was trying to figure out how to do the hoi on Hikianalia years ago. And oh my gosh, let me tell you, thank the Lord, I did have some wonderful mentors. There were times where I was running back and forth along the deck, just holding that hoi, and mainly to make sure that we were going off in the right place. Because even though I was the medical officer, I was crew first. So as crew, you work. And so in working, they're like, okay, it's your shift, so you're on the hoi. So I was standing there, and it was other people behind me that came and held on with me. As they were holding on with me, they were talking into my ear how I should be moving, which way I should be going, how I can watch the sails and how they're fluttering so that I know that I'm going, you know, against the wind a little bit, but in the right place and going in the right direction. That's really what you're looking for in your mentor. And so what you're doing is you're really looking at that safe space. On the canoe, the whole canoe is a safe space. And those are all the people that becomes your ohana for that voyage. And so this is really important for you to know who you are and who's around you, but you should really feel comfortable with that person. And I just want to throw out there that if for whatever reason you don't really feel comfortable, or really if your mentor is not really setting that safe space, and like we said, you have a lot of people who are on the line right now who are mentors, create that safe space for your mentee. That's super important so that they can feel that they can talk to you about anything. You may not necessarily be that one-all, but you can help them, direct them if they need another type of mentor other than what you can and are willing to mentor that person in. And so really trust your gut. You're a na'au. If it feels right, this is the right person you're going to hang with. This is the person that's going to help do one of those those three things that Kelli-Ann talked about saying, yes, you can do this. They're your cheerleaders, they're your coach, they're awesome. The other one who is going to say, honey, I don't think so. So let's rethink and let's figure out how to do this. But then the other one is when they're moving up and they're going forward, they're going to grab your hand and pull you up with them. That's the third type of mentor. And probably at our stage of the game where we are, this is really important for us. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that. You have anything else to share, Kelli-Ann?
Nope, you said it perfectly. Thank you. And that takes us actually into the roles, because we are both mentors and mentees, and no matter what level of education or career or spiritual development, right? You name it, no matter where we go in life or what we want, we're going to seek out someone who knows better and knows more. And so that mentor often needs to be goal focused, because the mentee may have a specific, or they better have a specific goal, because otherwise the relationship's not going to work. So also the commitment and time, it can be kind of hard as mentors for us to take that, but we know we are committed to the students and a legacy for those to come and serve for us when we are no longer able to do what we can do. And on the flip side, the mentee should be open to that feedback of time spent with the mentor. So really important as a mentee that you listen and that you have that ability to really be present to hear what that mentor says. We see that similarity also between the roles, that it is an interactive, reciprocal relationship. And it's actually very dynamic when it happens and it works. We all know it. We felt it. We've experienced both good relationships, not good relationships. And so being present allows you to energize that relationship for the positive or negative and move forward, or say, nope, this isn't going to work. And so really being focused, like I mentioned in the beginning, but having deliverables as the mentor, expecting that mentee to come with something or have something to achieve is key, and from the outset. So important that that mentee understands that they're going to be disciplined and they're going to follow up on what those expected deliverables are. And so having this out from the get-go is very important, in understanding the roles of what you are playing as a mentor or a mentee. And the similarity that we keep this professional. Again, we are coming from the place of a career and becoming a physician on this talk. So you may not need to be professional when you stay with your family or friends, right? I mean, oh yeah, that's the ones you're gonna cry with and whatever. But for this, you know, we're gonna keep it professional. We're gonna help each other rise to a place that you never thought you could be, and maybe more. And yeah, those are the roles that we felt often are important for both a mentor and a mentee. Anything you'd like to share, Dr. Carpenter?
Yeah, I think one of the things under professional, because I think you are wonderful in explaining all of these, is sometimes there are boundaries. And so what does that mean? And boundaries come from either side. And so if things are getting too personal or are getting, then you both need to back up and say, okay, we need to actually be within this professional boundary. In the same way that when you walk past the house, even if the door is open, you're not going to just walk right in. You're actually going to knock first. So you have to have that same thinking when you're doing this and you're doing something in a professional manner. So just watch your boundaries. Sometimes you get a little too, you know, la 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 and casual, and maybe that's okay, but maybe it's not. And it really kind of depends on which type of mentor you are, or what type of mentor-mentee relationship you want to have. And that's a discussion that you both need to have. And that's part of that expectations that Dr. Voloch is talking about. Mahalo.
Okay.
What you do want to think is that mentoring is really not one-sided. And it goes back to what was mentioned earlier, is that it's not just this one advisor, I'm going to tell you everything you're going to need to know, and you're going to do da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and you say nothing, and you only listen. It really should be back and forth. So it should be, as the mentee, this is what I'm interested in learning. And as the mentor, this is what I am interested in you learning and what I think I can offer to you. And so it is that back and forth. And so it shouldn't be one-sided. Also, they're not there to just kind of tutor you, you know, if you're the mentee. You need to actually take action. So if you're setting up a goal and you're saying, I'm going to do this by this time, you better be doing this by this time. That's your commitment. And you don't have only a commitment from one side. You have to have a commitment from both sides in order for this relationship to grow and to move forward as a mentor-mentee relationship. Also, really sometimes you just need to bend your ear, or you're having a bad day, or things just seem so negative, and wow, I just need to, you know, lay things out and just let it all go. Your mentor is not necessarily your therapist. So perhaps you need a therapist. I mean, and I laugh, but really that may not necessarily be a laughing matter, especially now when you're thinking of the social isolation of where people are and how do we still get to know people. And it's so wonderful to see people on Zoom, but oh, so much better to see people in person. And so sometimes if these things are really bothering you, then and if that becomes a barrier for you to move on and go on to your career and your goal, you may actually really need some help. And so just think about that, as that might actually be a real thing. That person that you have as your mentor and you being the mentee is not going to do the be all, know all. You will probably have multiple mentors, and you probably have different goals and different relationships between the people that you are working with. And so it might be very specific. You might actually think of it as more of a time-based thing. Or, you know, if I'm going to reach this goal, this is what this mentor, who I need this mentor for to help me through this goal. But perhaps they're not the right mentor for me to go from point B to C, but they certainly were the one to help me get from A to B. So just think about that as you're moving on. And even though Dr. Voloch and I both work at the Johnny Burns School of Medicine, we're probably not the complete experts. You really need to go and talk to the people who are part of the admissions committee, and you know, and really kind of go there and get some information. Don't take only word of mouth or what you hear from one person as the whole truth. Always do your research and look for other things. So anyway, just wanted to put that on. I'm just going to mention real quick, this picture that I have is actually Hokulea and Hikianalia in Pago Pago, American Samoa. And so I always think of that also as a reciprocal. Hikianalia was there to support Hokulea, and Hokulea was definitely there to support Hikianalia. So one actually became a mentor, mentee, kind of similar to
Yeah,
what we're talking about. Yeah. Anything
I
you
like
want to
that.
add to that, Dr. Voloch?
No, that's perfect. And also with that photo too, it really touches in such a vast way of how life is, and you know, all that we need to recognize and why things are sometimes the way they are and what we can appreciate from. And so I thank you for including that, because I've never thought of it that way with Hokulea and Hikianalia. I know they supported, but truly that's, yeah, thank you, thank you.
Yeah,
And so
awesome.
much of what we shared, you know, with the roles and what mentors and mentees aren't, you know, and from the get-go of a mentor, of someone being someone who guides you and lifts you as you are climbing or climbing with them. But what do you talk about, the topics? Obviously, we mentioned if it's a career, you know, or if it's academic, there's an endpoint. But sometimes it's just a matter of also coming together and sharing pathway stories, you know. And we often do this quite a bit with our medical students as they mentor undergraduate students, high school students, you know, our residents, talking story, sharing their pathway on what they experience with the medical students and the attendings and the so forth, you know. So sharing that, what are the goals? Obviously, that's a no-brainer, but having them short-term, long-term, encouraging that, because otherwise you are just on this escalator going nowhere in life, where you should be having somewhere your purpose and meaning to why you get up in the morning, you know, and really having that higher calling. So setting goals, but with action plans so that they're achievable. Right now, oh my gosh, stress management. How do we get through what we're going through? Many of us, everyone who's still here with us and on this webinar, we are surviving and thriving. And we've made a choice to be here and enjoy this talk and us sharing. And somehow it's helped us with our stress and maybe not. But either way, it's helping us move forward and how to help others. And so those management techniques or ways in which you balance career to have time with family and have time with friends, making time for job, making time for the dog or your cat or your whatever it is, you know, you've got to carve out that time. But how you do that for your own personal well-being is key. And hearing the stories from your mentors can really be so helpful and renewing for you. And that's why that safe space is key too, depending on the type of mentor that you're looking for and talking story with. But our Hawaiian word lokahi, or having some harmony, is also key to our well-being, and how we achieve that is really important to our overall wellness and doing well and being where we need to be each day, maintaining that motivation of why get up, why go to work, why go and do this, you know, is important. And talking with your mentor. And then also imposter syndrome for many of our students. And once you start becoming a physician and looking back and like, wow, you the only one went to college, because you might be the first generation, let alone first one to be a koka, a doctor. Oh, that can be kind of overwhelming. And you try to figure, am I here? How did I do that? Oh no, it must be through something. I'm off the ticker box, Native Hawaiian. Okay, they let me in, or what have you. But no, you earned it. And having the discussion, the talk about how you move from having that concern within yourself is so important. So Dr. Carpenter, anything you want to share? I mean, there's so many topics. I think these were just a few that we have with our students.
I think you hit it on the head, and I guess the only thing I would add is being realistic of where you are and where you should go at that point, and perhaps even taking a break if it's not your time to move on into that space that you thought you were supposed to be. Have that discussion with your mentor, because that's something that's really tough. It's really tough. It's looking at yourself and wondering, you know, is this the right time for me? And it's okay. And you really have to have that understanding, as Dr. Voloch says, of you working really hard to get to where you are. You should be the first one to pat yourself on the back and continue moving forward, even if others are not, because perhaps you are the one that needs to help yourself drive forward. Your mentor is there really to move along with you and to help you get you to your goal. So it's really important for you to know who you are and that you have gotten yourself to the space that you're at this time.
We do have a question. When you're introducing yourself to someone who you would like to establish as your mentor, it is easy to introduce yourself and your goals, but what would you present as an incentive or reason that they should mentor you? What's in it for them and how do they benefit from mentoring students?
I see we're both muted, so I was asking if you wanted to go first. I think that is a really great question. You know, truthfully, if you find the right mentor and that person is really there or have mentored others, it's not like we need money or anything. Really, our excitement is when you get to your goal. Like that's going to be like my, yes, I have helped this person get to where they're at. That gets me all excited. And that's pretty much all I need to help you out. So it's all good. I mean, that's what I would say.
Oh, I agree. I mean, just with who we work with and our medical students becoming residents in their training and now in communities and practicing physicians, that is the ultimate reward. And yeah, words cannot say, because it's part of the legacy and part of the life cycle of life. And I hope we're answering the question in that sense of really no payments needed, because that gift of time is one that the mentor will often choose to continue if the mentee continues to ask questions and explore that career path or questioning, wants to connect and shows up. And from there, the relationship, sometimes it's just a straight out question. Will you mentor me? Could you be my mentor? Okay, you specific goals and what is it that you want to achieve, and going from there. But yeah. I hope that answered the viewer's question. I can't see the question.
I do want to say that you got to click on the Q&A at the bottom.
I
do want to say that if you are oh shucks, I just lost my train of thought. In regards to your you know what? I really lost it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully it comes back a little
That's
bit later.
Quite
Shucks.
okay.
Sorry about that.
We'll move on. That's
mahalo, mahalo, Kavika. Uiho. Just kind of moving on to how to engage your mentor, and really this sort of just answers if Lisa, if you can just do one more click. What you need to do is, y'all have a passion. You need to share that passion. If your mentor can see that you are passionate about what it is that you want to do and where you want to go, they will be more passionate about helping you get there. And that's really important. So it's, how do I frame that? How do I bring that across? How can I formulate that? What right words can I do? Oh, mahalo, Sarah. Okay, great. She said we answered her question. Awesome. So I just wanted to mention that you need to really share that passion and bring that across. And I think that is something. Wanda, so nice to see you. Oh my gosh, all you great people who have already mentored so many people, and my students as well. But really that's, I think, one of the most important things is really kind of share that passion. So I know you have it in there. Don't do something because someone said, oh, you have to go and work with the kupuna because this is what you want to do. And really inside in your heart, you're like Kelli-Ann, you're like, oh, but I really love kids. Not to say I don't love kupuna because I love them as well, but I really get excited when I work with kids. Well, then my first question as your mentor would be, what is your passion? What would you like to do? I don't want to tell you what to do. If you go and work at Shriners and all of a sudden you're like, yes, this gets me excited. This is what I want to do. Then you're telling me now I know how I can steer you one way in how you can improve yourself and get to that next goal. So that's a really great thing. If you want to go to the next slide, the next thing is really you have to feed your passion and use that to connect with your mentor. And this is the way you are going to engage with them. And what you're going to do once you figure that out is create that timeline. So here's my goal. This is what I want to do. And don't get excited if your goal changes along the way. Because perhaps you were going towards something and then all of a sudden you went, I now learned that I don't know if I really like working with this group of people. Maybe I like working with this. I actually did some, I was part of the Haumana Biomedical Research Program when I was an undergrad. And so when I did that, I was thinking I want to get my PhD and I really want to do some research. But as I was doing it, I realized that's probably not what got me excited. And I really love people. And that's what helped me to kind of move towards, I probably want to get an MD instead of a PhD. And this is what I want to do. Now, 20 odd years later, I am doing some research and kind of going backwards to what I thought I wanted to do later. But create that timeline and you can hit that timeline to help you towards your goal, and that commitment of showing up of what your mentor is going to say and how you want to get there and how you can work to really be there. And really the commitment has to come from both sides. It has to come from the mentor as well. If the mentor has too many time commitments, they also need to be realistic and say, I would love to mentor you, but right now I really cannot because I don't think I can be my best self for you. That's a real realistic thing from the mentor standpoint. So perhaps I'm going to ask Dr. Yada Yada to help you along this way right now because perhaps they have a little more time instead of myself. And I will be there to help you with other things, etc. I just wanted to show a picture here. This is in Cook Islands, and these pohaku that you see were actually brought over by different awesome, Amber, that you're in Haumana Biomedical also. That these pohaku were brought over by the different canoe that came over. This was their commitment to the Pacific Island peoples to say, I will be back. And I will be coming together to bring my canoe to teach voyaging and keep it real. So hence I put this picture in here because that commitment has to come from both sides. Anything else you want to add, Dr. Voloch?
No, that is wonderful, actually, and feeding that passion, there's no doubt, and connecting the timeline and commitment to show up. And thank you. Thank you. I would like to just deviate real quickly to our next slide about sharing on Pu Pa'akai. If the can be advanced, I'm not sure. Lisa.
I was just going to mention that we are coming up to time, and that's okay. Folks have to leave. We did announce this as a 1-hour webinar. However, we are just going to go ahead and just visit with Dee-Ann and Kelli-Ann and talk story until we get through this. So you're welcome to join us. And if you have to leave, mahalo for joining us today. And if you have to run and are unable to complete the evaluation now, we will follow up with an email on Monday just to catch your mana'o on maybe future webinar topics that we can cover. But in the meantime, I'm in no rush. If you guys are in no rush, we'll just keep going.
Yes, yes. Okay. Thank you, Lisa, for bringing that. I wasn't aware how fast time flies when you're having fun sharing information. And so we'll go to the next slide, introducing a mentoring program that we have just launched in November in our Department of Native Hawaiian Health called Pu Pa'akai, and its origins from the Pule Yola no Kekino, and was gifted to us from two amazing cultural experts in our department, both Tiffany Kakalia and Malia Purdy. And so essentially with that prayer, the pule and sharing and partaking in food and how our bodies are nourished, it really symbolizes sharing the ike and knowledge along our individual journeys of what Pu Pa'akai means, and paying tribute to the Aina of Ka'akau Kukui, where we come from Japsum, and preserving our collective experiences. So essentially, together we rise in knowledge for healing and growth, and a tiered mentoring program. The purpose of it actually is to maintain our Native Hawaiian identity in a Western medicine, and increasing that confidence and educational success of our medical students, but also those that are in undergrad who want to achieve entry into medical school at Japsum, and helping the students, that is the medical students, really foster that social responsibility and improving their well-being. So I believe we've gotten through maybe that second slide we could advance to, and perhaps the who. So I've already reviewed the purpose. We can go to the next one. And also who it is for is Pacific Islander students, ʻiwi hoʻola students, Native Hawaiian students. So there's 3 tracks that we are engaging in, helping and assisting with through mentorship. Our Pacific Islanders, the ʻiwis, current ʻiwi hoʻola students, those in medical school and those going to residency. Our Native Hawaiian students, high school, college, medical school. So we're taking them from the very beginning of their interest in medicine and health career, all the way through residency and to the workforce. And we're really excited because we've always had small pockets of mentoring, and our ʻiwi students, they have theirs, but this is really 3 tracks under one umbrella and doing that tier. So we had an event with Ahahui o Nakauka, and we have launched that. We'll be checking in with the mentors and mentees that signed up. And so we're really excited to those physicians and the medical students who are participating. And also how we're doing it is through the collaborations like I just shared. You just heard me through Ahahui o Nakauka, Friends of ʻiwi hoʻola. So the community partners that are available of physicians out there to mentor with these residents in training, with the medical students, with the undergrad students. So really having those stories to share and experiences that may just have that light and guide to help them through this path of the career. So I have a listing on the next one of how for the collaborators, the health centers, we have physicians from various health centers, hospitals, the faculty at Japsum. So that's how we're doing it. They meet once a month. They're doing it virtually or some in their practices. So really due to COVID, it's changed a lot of the shadowing, but we're trying to maximize it at least as best we can. Again, these students, you can show the pictures of the students. These are our ʻiwi hoʻola first-year medical students who are part of Kupa'akai. Dr. Fernandez in the Center for our Native Hawaiian Student Pathways to Medicine works with many of our undergrad students, Native Hawaiian, looking to gain entry into medical school at Japsum or on the mainland, and really helps from interviewing to MCAT prep so that they are prepared and succeed into entry into medical school and exposure to the physician. So those are just 2 areas of students. And I believe also we have some pictures of a community health program. So this is at the high school level. Dr. Morisako, Ashley on that top left with some of the high school students. So while she was a med student, she was mentoring Nanakuli high school students. Dr. Courtney Gaddis, Tom, also one of our Ahahui Native Hawaiian physicians. She's pediatrics. She's with her high school student. She's actually on the exam table, allowing the high school student to examine her through a clinical health. So we'll go to several more pictures and slowly wrap this up. And Dr. Carpenter?
Yeah, these are some of the students that I've mentored over the years, and now they're mentoring me. I love it. So 2 boys from Molokaʻi, Kaimana and Dayton, who used to hang out with Marcus Iwani, who's to my immediate left in the picture. And he's the one that introduced me to them. And now you have these Moloka'i doctors. So Dayton just finished his, right next to Marcus, just finished his residency in surgery. And he just emailed me and said, hey, if you have any students who are interested in surgery, let me know. So he says, I'm staying here in Texas because I have a great job. And so please just put us in contact by email. The other doctor at the end, Dr. Eric Brodt, I knew since he started medical school. He is now the head of the Native American Center of Excellence at Oregon Health Sciences, and as doing such a fabulous job and actually working with our Native Hawaiian Center of Excellence, doing such wonderful things. Dr. Marcus Iwani, I can't speak enough about him. He is our, he's my son from another mother. And my kids already think that that's their brother. And so really he's working at Kaiser and really helping to really move them forward in their thinking and being very culturally grounded. So wonderful, wonderful. These three down below, off to residency, just ready to graduate. They helped me out at Papakolea. And so they go into the community and do all these wonderful things with us. And I think that's where we end up doing some really fabulous things. And it's these students who then mentor the next students and the next students. So our tiered mentoring continues in the way that we've talked to them in many years. So next slide. I had to just bring you back to the picture that's behind me at Pu'ukohola. So every year there's a ho'oku'ikahi Pu'ukohola that Ahahui o Nakauka have been part of since, oh my gosh, Kim, when was it? 2005 or 2004 when we first went to the Big Island. And so every year we take students up, and in this top picture, not only do we have our medical students going to Pu'ukohola and doing health screening and first aid while they're doing their ho'oku'ikahi, but also bring in pharmacy with us. We were lucky enough to be able to join the rest of those at Pu'ukohola, to go to Mauna Kea last year. And so we took a bunch of our staff, our medical students. We actually were joined by Chaminade Nursing and Pharmacy, as well as all of those who were at Pu'ukohola. And we all went up to Mauna Kea and gave them, we had a beautiful ceremony up there. So medical students learn about their culture while they're working with us. We continue to do that. And I know we probably don't have time for the next slide. We just left in there just in case we had time for personal experiences, but I think we've allowed too much. So we'll just move on to our last slide. And just, though things have changed over the year, this is how we still get together. And so this group of people, you can see 4 of us are advisors here for our certificate of distinction, our Dean Certificate of Distinction in Native Hawaiian Health that we were able to give these 3 who graduated this past year. And so although things look differently and we're on Zoom, even as we are now, we can continue to mentor and be mentees. So mahalo for your time and your energy, and really let us know if you have any questions.
Okay, mahalo nui. If anybody who has any questions, we can take them now at this time, either in the chat or in the Q&A feature. I guess one of the questions I have is sometimes a mentor-mentee relationship kind of happens by accident, right? And then it just kind of evolves, and then before you know it, you can actually label them a mentor and then label them a mentee. And like, how often does that happen? Like, I know there's formal actual programs where you pair people up and have a timeline and goals, but then there's also the informal ones. So can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
I think that probably happens more often than not, actually. So, and that's why what Dr. Voloch is talking about, I mean, we've been mentoring people for the last, I don't know, a couple of decades, But it's really by word of mouth. It's really, oh, so-and-so said to come and meet you and talk to you. And so you end up talking to them and you develop this relationship. And it does actually just happen. My dad constantly goes out. Oh, Meleka, how's it? My dad goes out to, you know, to get his blood work. And all of a sudden he sees this nice Polynesian person and they said, oh yeah, you know, I want to be a doctor. And he's like, here, give me your name and your number. I'm going to give it to my daughter. And then she's going to help you get into medical school. I'm like, okay, Dad, like I can't help the whole world, but we can. So we do. And so he's constantly going, yeah, but you can. This is a Polynesian. We need more. How can we do this? You know? So those are, it happens all the time. I meet people at parties all the time. You figure it out. And don't think that even where we're at now, like we still need our own mentors at all. Yeah. Oh, Ashley, you're on board.
Ashley.
That's exactly how Ashley and I started getting together as well. Oh my gosh. Okay. All of you guys already know all the answers. Yep.
And even through our practice, you know, I know for myself as a pediatrician and seeing students on campus, but you know, as patients, but then that continuity that they see you and that how important healthcare is. And it's kind of an informal, it's not that I'm just their doctor, but also, you know, the friend and someone to guide them. And sometimes through their family issues and, you know, through cousins. And so, yeah, it's just amazing opportunity that anyone can have, because like we started out, everyone is a mentor or a mentee. We are to our nieces, our nephews, our friends, our family in so many different ways. It's just what level, what it is that you need, what it is at the time to help you get through something. So we can all be a guiding light for someone as the light is shining behind us on our backgrounds of the sun will rise, the sun will set, and we hope we get each day to enjoy its brightness and to share it with others. So I really thank everybody for being with us today too.
And I really want to mahalo all of you on the call as I'm going through your names. You're all have been wonderful mentors to so many people that we know. So I just want to thank you for all that you do, that you continue to do. And this is why we're all here.
Mahalo nui
And I guess we
loa.
have to mahalo just I was thinking we just have to mahalo you guys, Lisa, with our, you know, Native Hawaiian Health Scholarship. I was part of the Native Hawaiian Higher Education Scholarship, the very first one that came out right after. And so, yeah, not to tell you how old I am, but anyway, chihu. So it's really you folks that have helped us to get to where we are. And hopefully we're all able to grab all your hands and we pulled everybody up with us.
Yep, I remember Dr. Sita Ninsanka always trying to get us together for a Native Hawaiian Health Scholarship, and it was housed over at community schools, then to Papa'ololokahi, and it was just amazing. And to see that it continues to perpetuate dreams, and it's just wonderful. So thank you.
Mahalo.
Mahalo, Dee-Ann and Kelli-Ann, for joining us today. It was great spending time with you two and getting caught up and talking about all this mentoring. And I just want to also let folks know that the next webinar is for us is on January 22nd, and that will be featuring Keola Chan. He will be discussing Kane health along with mentoring and how that can be challenging during these times, and his son will be joining him. So we will have a email invite come out shortly if you'd like to join us then also, or to share that information with others. And we will have a recording of this available sometime next week. And then also Kim, if you wanted to also plug in some other webinars or activities that Papa'ololokahi in general is doing.
Oh, thank you for this opportunity. Yes, in fact, the Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Hawaii COVID response team has been working for the last 9 months. And just starting today, we're launching a 5-week report to the community. So if you would like to get some information about what the different committees have been doing over the last 9 months, then please tune in next Friday at 12 noon. We've got a webinar actually for the next 4 Fridays, and we would love to share with you some of the work that's been done and invite you to get involved as well. Thanks, Lise.
All right, mahalo Kim and Marvin Buenafe for IT support, checking in with us earlier. And we will keep in touch. So malama pono, ahui ho everybody.